Some people prefer to glue their curved piecing. So I'm going to show you how it's glued. This is the fan, and this part goes against your feed dog, so it always goes on the bottom. And this part always goes on the top. So first thing you do is find the center. I always fold mine in half and place a pin, and then fold this in half and place a pin. And I always take the papers off. I find it easier to piece with the papers off. So we're going to match these two. And let's match the two pins. And then take one out. So we have the center pinned. Now we're going to take the right hand side, because the left hand side is going into the feed dogs first. So I guess it doesn't really matter because we're gluing. So we're going to match these edges here. And I'm matching the side edge and the top edge. And then what I'm going to do is put a little bit of glue. And I like using the glue pen for this because it gives a nice little 1/4 inch dab of glue. So you just put a dab of glue on there and then glue it down. And make sure you match the ends and the top, and then just hold it for a second until it takes hold. Then I'm going to come to the center, take the pin out, and I'm going to place some glue at the center, and then glue that down and just hold it for a second. So we have the center glued and we have this edge glued. So now we're going to glue the middle part, and I'm using the purple thing. And if you pull this up and match the very center, then put a little glue underneath it. And then hold it down. And then go between the two pieces of glue, and you'll see that the edges line up pretty well. Or they do line up with your purple thing, and hold that in place and then place some more glue there. And then go over on this side where there was no glue and match the edges, the outside edges, and glue it. So what you're concerned about is matching the outside edges and having a nice flat place to put your seam. And we'll show you that later as we stitch it. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This edge here, match the edge, and as I move, if I hold this edge down, it's already glued, and I move this top fabric back and forth just a little bit, you see that it is flat, then it's not flat. It's flat over here. Then you move it over here and it's flat over here. So when you're stitching, you'll see how we just move this slightly to make it flat right where we stitch. Let's go back out, and we take the other side and glue it. So let's put a little dab of glue on the edge, then glue it like that. Find the center, and you can see that it really just fits right into place there. You just move it a little bit and then glue it. And then just fill in where you don't have glue. The beauty of the glue is it gives you a chance to work with the fabric, and you don't have the pressure of stitching it in and wondering if you're going to have to rip it out. So here again we have our can't find this thing on the camera. We have the edges are glued, and if we hold this in place here and then move this, you can see how it goes from flat to a little bump. So just remember that when we go to the stitching part, and you'll see how that falls into place. But what's great about this is here you have this already glued piece of fabric, and it's not going anywhere. It's going to stay glued till you need to to not have it glued. So a lot of people do prefer to do this. They just sit down and glue everything and then take it to the machine and stitch it up. So let's stitch it up right now. Now we're going to stitch the glued piece, the glued curve. So we start at one end and we use our 1/4 inch foot and a regular stitch length. And if you have needle down, use your needle down. Alright, I'm going to go right in front of the needle. So you start with your needle down, or use your needle down if you have it, and take a few stitches and stop with your needle down. And what we're looking for, we want to keep everything that's going into the needle, we want to keep it perfectly flat. And I showed you before how you just move this top part and it flattens out. So this is very flat, so I'm just going to hold it in place like this. And I need to slightly move it just to keep it flat. Slightly move it. So I'm concentrating on getting 1/4 inch and keeping everything flat going into the needle. And I'm doing it by adjusting these tops just slightly as we go. Just make sure your bottom fabric is flat. And since you've glued it, you don't really, your edges are going to stay together. You just have to concentrate on getting your 1/4 inch seam. Alright, so let's look and see. There we have our nice smooth straight edge here. No puckers, and straight edge on this other side. There.